when you finally get your chance in the WWE for the NXT show, which I'm sure most people remember. If they don't, it was basically a show that was on, I don't know what channel it was on. Was it on Sci-Fi? Or it was on TV, right?
I think, yeah.
Maybe even on USA.
Yeah,
something.
It was live. Actually, some of them were live too when we did it.
Yeah, and it was 7 guys from,
It took over from ECW. ECW ended. The very next show was NXT.
There you go. And it was the 7 guys from the developmental league coming in and being paired with 7 pros, kind of a competition to see who would end up on top, right? And that's exactly. I remember how it was pitched to me, and I was like, Vince, I can't do this because I was like working Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. He's like, I just want you to do this. I don't want to do it. I don't care about NXT. I don't care about these guys. He's like, Chris, you gotta need your star power. I'm like, come on, man. I'm a heel. I wouldn't like anybody. He goes, you're doing it. I'm like, all right. So I show up to the first day when you guys are all there. How was it pitched to you guys?
We were told it was going to be more of a reality show. So we were under the impression it was going to be more of a kind of American Idol type of thing. And our biggest concern was that they were going to have cameras following us around and kind of shooting us in our hotel. It was a bit like how Total Divas is now. We were like, no, we don't want that at all. That sounds awful. But then they told us, no, it's more of a game show where you're going to be judged by these pros on the stage. You're going to be, every week they're going to have a ranking system and guys are going to get eliminated off that, and you're going to be judged on your talking ability and your wrestling ability and stuff like that. What they didn't tell us was that there was going to be these very strange challenges like downing a pint of Coca-Cola as quickly as you can, and obstacle courses and all this bizarre stuff, which we were not impressed with at all.
Almost taking the piss out of it after a while.
Yeah, and I think that might have been part of it to try and reinforce that whole pros and rookies thing, because we were called rookies, but realistically, the majority of us, we've been wrestling 6 years. Daniel Bryan had probably been wrestling 20 years at that point. And
they put him with Miz, and everyone was so pissed off. Miz was the pro.
Exactly.
Daniel Bryan was the rookie.
I think they really wanted to reinforce that. Okay, these guys are rookies; they're not yet superstars and stuff like that. So they were trying to almost humble us, and we weren't. That was the other thing. We weren't allowed in the locker room either. We had to go and change in the corridor, and there's no showers in the corridor. I remember knocking on the male talent locker room. I think you answered. I was like, "Do you mind if I come in and have a shower? I just wrestle. Please, can I come and have a shower?" And you're like, "God, yeah, come in here. I don't want you stinking the place up, Yeah, get in."
So when did you find out who your I guess pro was going to be?
I found out live on TV. So they did the final ECW, and during the final ECW, they started running vignettes of what was coming next week. It's going to be NXT, and we're going to find out who's paired up with who. And it came up Wade Barrett is going to be paired up with Chris Jericho. So I was, great, awesome. It's good that I'm working with another heel, because I was working heel at the time, obviously, and you were working heel at the time too. And
I was a champion at the time.
You weren't actually at that point.
I wasn't. Oh, okay.
No, you won it the following Sunday at the Elimination Chamber.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay. And then, so that was an extra bonus for me. So I was, great, Jericho, big name, and he's a heel too. I think I can definitely work with him. This is going to be a lot of fun. So I was really happy with that. And then, obviously, the following Sunday, I'm stood there waiting. They brought us up on the Sunday. We stood around Monday, and Tuesday was our show. But then I see you win the world title as well. I was even better. This is going to shine some extra light on me. So yeah, that was pretty cool.
And then they told me you're because I'd been down to FCW a couple times, but in FCW there was like 50, 60, 70 guys, so you would meet everybody but not really meet anybody. Like, hey, this guy's big, or hey, what's up? You've
got this swarm of guys trying to shake your hand. Please, me next.
I just want to go talk to Smiley or something, Hey, man, what's up, Norman? But so they tell me, okay, your rookie is Wade Barrett, and I was like, okay, that's cool, whatever. So that day, I remember there was Christian and me and Miz and a couple other dudes, whoever else was on there. I think Matt Hardy, MVP, and we're walking around. I remember I'm trying to find this Wade Barrett guy. Like, I just want to say hi and see what's up. So I meet like a bunch of guys, and then you come up to me and say, "Hey, my name's Stu," and I'm like, "Hey, what's up, man?" And I'm not like, in my mind, I was kind of nice, but like just whatever. Like, I'm looking for somebody else. "Hey, what's up? Nice to see you." And then I'm like, "Where the hell is this Wade Barrett prima donna?" Like, everybody else is meeting their guys, but I haven't met any guys. Like, where is this? Was this Wade Barrett? I said, "Well, that guy over there. No, that guy's Stu." No, his working name is Wade Barrett. His real name is Stu. And I was like, oh, sorry. Do you remember that?
I do remember that. I was told very quickly when I got on the road not to call myself Stu, because we have the cameraman Stu, who's been here for 25 years or something like that. So it was, okay, when you're the new guy anyway, there's only one Stu and it's him. So call yourself Wade. So I found that out pretty quickly, but that obviously came just after I'd introduced myself to you. So after that,
do you remember that though? Like, did you think I was being a dick, or did we talk? Okay.
You've got to remember at this point, we were a bunch of guys from developmental. We were being very much treated like, okay, these guys are rookies. They're not superstars yet. We were treated very much as second-class citizens to an extent. So we're doing the whole, okay, let's be a good boy and go and introduce ourselves to everyone. So we've got like 200 people that we're going around that day just saying a quick hello to, just to say we've done it, so no one can hold it against you. You didn't say hello to me, which is kind of the old school way of burying the new guys before they've even done anything. So, honestly, I just came up, hello, how you doing? Nice to meet you. I'm sure he'll come and talk to me when he needs to talk to me, kind of thing. And I knew you just won the title and you had probably a huge segment on Raw to worry about. The last thing he wants to care about is, NXT in 2 days' time, and then worrying about doing some little segment with me.
Well, like I said, I was like, not burnt out, but I went into it with a chip on my shoulder because I didn't want to do it, because it was just an extra day of work, and I was like super burned out. You know how it gets. Yeah. But then when they said Wade Barrett is your guy, I Googled it. I looked it up. It's like, oh, this guy's been working, and cool. So I see it. It's like, oh, if this guy is any good at all, he's totally going to win, which is good for me, because if I was stuck with some guy I didn't like, I would have been, if they would have put me with, like, not that I don't like Slater, but if they would have put me with him, I know he's not going to win. So I probably would be even more, like, be about it. But as soon as I saw you, and then I was like, okay, well, this guy's good. And then suddenly it's like, well, I got to do it anyways. I've got no choice. And I remember they're saying, you don't have to wrestle. And of course, first night I showed up.
2 segs main.
With Daniel Bryan, who'd never wrestled. I was like, thanks, man.
I was stood ringside holding your title while that went on. And, I had a great view of that. Because
your gimmick was you had a waistcoat, but you wouldn't put it on your arms. It would be over your shoulders. You had a rose. What was the rose meaning?
The rose, that was supposed to be just a kind of a douchebag thing. Oh, like, I'm better than you. And then I'd have different colored roses for different days. So if I was angry, I'd have, different color roses actually mean different things. If you some of the rose, it might mean I had a black rose to show I was angry because I'd lost the week before. And,
it's like a mood ring.
Yeah, I had a mood rose. I had a red rose because I loved the feeling of debuting on TV. I had this stupid stuff.
And a pink rose if you're feeling sassy.
I wanted to get lucky that night. Right.
So what are some of your memories of that time? Because I remember a few things of you and me, because we did pretty good. We got good chemistry.
Yeah. Which I was always disappointed afterwards that we never did anything with that.
Well, I know think the reason that's why. Yeah.
But I always felt even after that we could have come back to something. And,
I was pitching it because I loved having. I actually had Lance Cade for a while as my. Not even a heater, just someone you could use. Like, if I'm going to win, it's because of just this guy. If I'm going to lose, it's because of the guy.
To be a bit more creative.
Yeah,
right? Yeah. Well, I remember. It's funny you mentioned the Daniel Bryan match, because that was obviously the first time in my life I'd walked out in front of the WWE cameras. I'd done a couple of dark matches at that point, so I'd done it in front of kind of the live crowd, just maybe twice at that point in these huge arenas that were packed out. So I'd had that experience, but I'd never walked out. Okay, and the first episode was live because I think we were West Coast or something at the time, so we were live on TV. So that was the first time I'd walked through Gorilla and bust through that curtain and oh wow, I'm live on WWE TV, and all these things that I've dreamed about since being a kid. This has just happened right now, and no matter what else happens in my career, I've done this, which is pretty amazing, really, when you've dreamed about it since being a 10-year-old boy or whatever, with pictures of the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith on your wall, and stuff like that. It was a pretty amazing feeling. But I remember walking down to the ring with you, and like I say, I was just seconding you because you had this match, and I knew, this is probably going to be pretty easy for me. So I'm just kind of stood around, not doing too much, which was, I was nervous anyway, just walking out and being on TV and stuff like that. But I remember we got in the ring, and I didn't really know what was happening.
Because they didn't tell you guys anything. They told us, but they didn't tell you guys.
No, they just throw stuff at us that we're not expecting. And I remember we both got in the ring, and Daniel Bryan hadn't come out at this point, so it's me and you stood in the ring. You've got the World Heavyweight title around your waist, and I didn't know this was happening, but you suddenly called for a mic. So I'm stood next to you, we're both looking at the hard cam, and everyone's booing because you're this big hated heel at the time, and you start talking. And I'd never stood in the ring at at any point when someone had been on a mic before. And
so the acoustics are different.
The acoustics are terrible.
Yeah.
You can't hear a word people are saying. And I never understood that before, because obviously you just see it off TV or whatever. You just think, you can hear it clearly. But it's actually really hard to hear. And then the crowd's booing and yelling, and you have these horrible acoustics bouncing around, so I couldn't tell what you were saying. I wasn't really paying attention anyway. I was kind of daydreaming, wow, my dreams are coming true. I had that voice in my head just talking to me, and I'm looking at all these people taking pictures, and I'm like, wow, I'm stood next to Chris Jericho, and I'm live on TV. I hope my parents are watching this. This is so cool. And then I look at you, and you're just holding the mic towards me. And then I realize I have absolutely no idea what you just said live on TV. And now I've just been handed this mic, and this is the first thing anyone in the world is going to see of me and my career, and I don't know what I'm doing. So I take the mic, and I just start going on about myself. I can't even remember what I said. I just went on autopilot.
I'm Wade Barrett.
My name's Wade Barrett. I'm the toughest bare knuckle fighter in the world, and I'm this, and I'm that, and I'm the other, and I'm coming to NXT to do blah, blah, blah. And I just start going off on one. At which point you just pat me on the shoulder and said, I just asked you to introduce me. Whatever you say, boss. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Jericho. So there we go.
You've never told me that at that length before.
Yeah. So that's how that happened.
Oh, that was so great.
And I was, honestly, I didn't know what to do. I was like, oh my, I can't just say, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do, Chris? I didn't hear you. I was like, this is my first moment on TV, and I had no idea what I was supposed to be doing. Exactly.
I remember that because I forgot when it was, but I was like, I'm going to have my protege, Wade Barrett, introduce me now, and you're going to shut up and listen, and you get it, and you just go off. I thought you were getting to a point, and I was just like,
there was no point. I don't know where I would have been. I'd still be going now if you had to stop me.
I think if you watch it back, you could probably see me kind of smiling, but that was cool. I appreciated the fact that you could go off and do that.
Right.
Because I remember something else about NXT too, was they would give you guys promos on the spot. Yeah. Talk about this coffee cup, and then you'd have to stand there.
And that's horrible.
Remember that? Yes.
Try doing that Try doing that on your own. Have your friend just give you a word and talk for 30 seconds or a minute. It's impossible. And bring it round, make it a story, make people interested in it, and give it some punch at the end that people are going to react to. And it's almost impossible. And we did something called the Talk Challenge. It was in the O2 Arena in London, which is one of the biggest arenas we ever do.
Huge.
It was my first time at home in the UK since I've been with WWE, so I had a bunch of my friends, guys I used to work with there, and then I found out we're doing this horrible thing where they're just going to give me a word, and I've got to go and talk about it. And there was eight of us on there, and I think the first 7 guys went, and they as you would expect, they didn't do well. There's a lot of pressure.
And a lot of those guys weren't great talkers either. Nothing against them, but it just wasn't their thing.
That's true. But I got the word wind, and I don't know what happened. Just immediately in my head, I thought I must have been listening to the Scorpions earlier that day. I got winds of change in my head, and then I knew I could build something around that. So I started cutting my promo. I talked about how the winds of change are blowing in WWE, and Wade Barrett is going to be the first ever WWE World Heavyweight Champion, and the crowd erupts because it's a UK crowd, which was fantastic. That couldn't have worked out any better, but it was a good, solid 30-second promo. And I remember I was pretty much the only one who did a good job with it. It just worked out that way. I kind of got lucky, kind of some of my natural ability too, and it just worked. And I got to the back, and I remember so many of the main roster came up to me and patted me on the back and said that was incredible. That was so good. CM Punk came up to me. You obviously patted me on the back too. Vince, Triple H, guys like that would just tell me what a great job that was, and that felt so good. And I think that was the moment in NXT where I really won the show. I think it was only about 4 weeks in, but I knew once I did that, this has now put me at a different level in the minds of Vince or management or people. Wow, that guy went out and really hit a home run there.
Well, even on a personal level with me, I was proud of that. And I vividly remember that win because, like I said, you had the presence. Because it's not, size is great, but dude, I've seen them come and go. But it was the presence that you had. Yeah. And you have.
Actually, I heard a story about you in Gorilla. I think you were up next after we did that segment, and I walked back. Someone told me, I don't know if we've ever discussed this, but they said, as I was in the ring cutting that promo and the crowd erupts, and I'm like, I've just won this segment, whatever it is. And apparently you were screaming at Vince in Gorilla, that's my rookie, Vince. You hear that? I showed him that. I taught him that, Vince.
Because I saw him smile, give the thumbs up or something like that. As soon as I see him smile and he's excited, then I got to get in there. Yeah, that's all me. That's me, Vince. That's me, Vince. He's like, oh, shut up. Come on, that's why you put him with me. But that's really, and I knowing how the business is and knowing how Vince is, I'm sure they put us together, not just taking two names out of a hat and putting it. I think he knew that you had what it took to get to that next level. Just my opinion. I've never been told that, but it made sense when you think about it, especially when you did that promo, because I remember thinking, oh, this guy's got it in the bag. It's great. And that helped me get into the show more too. That's when I had fun at that point. I remember being outside at the ringside when they were talk about Barrett. You see he's beat up that back. You talk about him more.
Look at Barrett. He's like a majestic eagle up there. That was one of my favorite quotes. look at him dominating the ring apron. I think it was in a tag match.
See, then that's how you know that I'm into it, because I'm starting to have fun. And and lo and behold, the last day you win. Which was, and the thing is too, like with us judging and stuff, that was all a work. They never paid attention to anything we said. They might have listened to this guy's good, but as far as who was going to win and who wasn't going to win, that was all up to obviously Vince and the office. So when you